Welcome back to another video. My name is Abby, and today we are talking about the law of assumptions, how to remove negative assumptions. If you're new to this channel and you like videos like this, all you gotta do, hit that subscribe button, click the bell. As soon as new videos come out, you will be notified. And a great and easy way to support this channel, if you want to do so, and if you like this video, is hit that little like button below. It really helps to spread this information and to support this channel. So back to the video, law of assumption. How do you change negative assumptions? First, if you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with Neville Goddard, who basically this came from, the law of assumption. And what does that mean? What is an assumption? Literally, assumptions can be about anything. And in my opinion, they fortify your belief. You assume different things, and those are basically in a category, and they come together and they're like glue to hold together in a belief. And again, it's only something that you give permission and consent to be true. It doesn't mean that it's objectively true. It means that it's subjectively true, meaning it's true through your filters. So this can be about money. This can be about relationships. This can be about career, anything. And what does that mean, that it's subjective versus objective? Meaning that if other people are from the outside looking in, they might see things as, wow, this person's really talented. Why do they continue to hold themselves back? Or why do they continue to find themselves in the situation that doesn't really support and nurture them, or potentially getting into relationships where you continue the same cycle? The reason it's a subjective situation is because we're looking through filters, and those filters are basically put into place when we're younger, when we're in between the last trimester, yes, the last trimester of your biological mother. You're already starting to get a program, starting to be conditioned. That means that beliefs and assumptions are already starting to have an influence on you, even though you don't remember. You can also be influenced by epigenetics, meaning that through your genes, you're also getting different memories. And if you don't know much about this, I highly suggest you look it up, because it's absolutely fascinating. In my personal life, I've actually asked a lot about my ancestors, grandma, grandpa, all that, to understand in a bigger picture what kind of beliefs could potentially be inside of me. We'll get more into that later on in the video. But basically, from the last trimester of your biological mother to 7 years old roughly, you are in theta brainwave, meaning that that brainwave, which you naturally go through twice a day, right when you wake up and right before you go to sleep. So that brainwave is lower than we're functioning now, and probably in lower beta. Unless you're really stressed out when you're watching this video, you might find yourself in high beta, which is very intense, very frustrating, lots of stress, lots of cortisol going through your body. And really, a lot of times it's hard to think. So most likely you and I are both in low beta. So our conscious mind and our unconscious mind aren't really great at communicating in these states, because our conscious is in the higher realm, that higher frequency brainwave, and our subconscious is in theta brainwave. So when we're little, we're in that the whole time. Basically, we're learning how to be a human. We're learning how to navigate our primary culture, which is your immediate surroundings, your family, whatever situation that you grew up in. This can expand past your family, such as school situations or somebody who is an influence in your life. So whatever belief, however they treated you, and really whatever meaning that you took away from that situation. Again, let me repeat that. Something could have happened to you, and the way you interpreted it and the meaning you gave about yourself in the world and in relations to getting your needs met and getting the things that you want, you formed a meaning. Now, again, I said that happened most likely, that the vast majority of this is between the last trimester of your biological mother and 7 years old. So think about all the things that you've evolved from physically, the way that you can think a little bit clearer, you can pay bills, you can drive a car, all of those things and parts of you evolved. However, there's possibility that a lot of the things you believe about yourself are actually still rooted from that little you. So when you have these assumptions potentially about a relationship, maybe it's you assume unconsciously that you're going to meet somebody and they're going to reject you, that you can't find somebody who's going to accept you and is a safe place for you to have an emotional exchange with. And again, intimacy, which is into me you see, as from what I learned from Teal Swan. So you being able to see fully the other person, and the other person fully being able to see you. That's the parts that you love and celebrate about yourself, maybe the parts that you want to hide and you're not so proud of, but they're a part of you. So you sharing yourself fully that way. So potentially you have an assumption that you don't deserve that. Maybe when you were younger, when you put yourself out there, you were ignored, or maybe you found a lot of negative reactions from that expression. So unconsciously, you have an assumption that when you do that, you are going to have some sort of negative consequence. That's going to fortify this idea and this belief that you'll be rejected. So you could have all of these micro assumptions about rejection, and all of those are basically gluing it together. So I wanted to make sure that you understood what the law of assumption really means. And another aspect about the law of assumption, and not only from your younger self on why you're having these assumptions, but also your RAS, your reticular activating system, is important to point out here, because you have all of these things, and then when you literally look into the world, you look into real life, you're not seeing what's happening. You're seeing what's happening through the filters, your RAS, of what you believe to be true about yourself. So basically, you could say your RAS is essentially assumptive filters that you're looking through. So if I looked at the camera this way, I could only see a small part of really what's happening, and all the other things are blocked out. Well, basically, I'm blocking out all the things that could contradict my assumptions. And this is called confirmation bias. We're trying to constantly look outside of ourselves to confirm who we are. So when you have your RAS, it doesn't mean that you're stuck there. It doesn't even mean that you're stuck there based on the assumptions you have right now, hence me making this video. How can you get rid of these assumptions that are negative? How can you help to remove the glue of a belief that is holding it in place? This belief is not getting you the thing you want. You want to live a life that you love. You want to live a life you enjoy. You need to start ripping apart and dissolving these old beliefs. So part of the way to do that is to remove the negative assumptions. It's the glue. So when you look through the world through your RAS, you are filtering through 50 million bits of information per second and finding and sorting out and sifting out 40. That's according to Dr. Bruce Lipton and his research. So think about all the things that are in your life right now. If you could start unwinding those assumptions and starting to see, maybe this is not as solid and firm as I thought. Maybe there's a little bit of fragility in this assumption. Maybe it's not true. Starting to look through the filters of, what if I am able to be received? What if I am valuable? And again, this could be about money. What if I am valuable and I can receive the amount of money that I want that would support me because I have a value to give? And really all that is an energetic exchange. I'm sending value out and I'm going to get value back in return. So what you have to do though is dissolve and untie those old beliefs. And again, the way to do this is to look at the assumptions you have. And one thing to do, actually, that I'd suggest is to go into Carolyn Elliott's Deepest Fear Inventory. I've been talking about this a lot because it really has helped to change my life. I had these ideas about what I wanted, but the issue was there was just under the surface in my unconscious these deep fears I had. And when I started looking into the fears, I could start more easily finding what my assumptions were. For instance, here's an example of what that might look like. I have a desire to do what I love and share what I learn and help positively impact and be a catalyst for change in the people who are watching these videos. And in exchange, I receive a value monetarily, which will help me sustain in this world. So when I did the Deepest Fear Inventory, basically what it asked you to do is say, Dear God, dear universe, I hate and resent receiving money for doing what I love and impacting and being a catalyst of change for other people. And it's like, what? This is not true. But when I allowed myself to say, okay, what if this is true, that I hate and resent it, that I'm actually pushing it away because of the assumptions I have because of a belief. And to hold this belief means that I need to stay away from that. So what I had to do is then you list 20 fears. So it looks like this. Dear God, dear universe, I hate and resent, and then your belief. And then it's because I secretly fear that if I put myself out there, I'll be rejected. Because I secretly fear that maybe what I have to say isn't good enough to receive that exchange. Because I fear that I'm not enough. Because I fear that it goes on and on and on and on. And when I started seeing and looking into that part of me, the part that's harder to see, it's more uncomfortable because it is getting into a truth that's really pushing on your ego, which is, I'm good, I can do this, I'm powerful, I'm strong. And looking into the part of myself that I had pushed away from, that I tried to distance myself from, the weaker, the confused, maybe the part of me that didn't really know, that looked to be accepted and loved. So when I started to do this deep and fair inventory, it helped me see the assumptions that I had that were holding together these beliefs. So the major thing that I would suggest to you is to start looking at what your fears are. Those fears are going to give you glimpses of what you're assuming about yourself. Do you assume you're not good enough? Do you assume that people don't want to hear you? Do you assume you're not valuable? Do you assume that you're not talented enough, not smart enough? As you start to really honestly look and admit to yourself what you genuinely feel and are unconsciously subscribing to in your assumption, then you can subscribe to that which supports your bigger vision, that which subscribes to the end version of you living in the end truthfully, fully, with full integrity, knowing that you have unclicked one and clicked the other. The only way you can do this is when you bring those unconscious things to your conscious awareness. So as you're using the power of the law of assumption, start understanding that awareness is the biggest aspect and the biggest part that you can take advantage of. Removing those and dissolving those unconscious beliefs that you have, those assumptions that are fortifying these beliefs, and moving towards the version of you that you deserve to live. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit subscribe. If you haven't done so already, like this video, and I'll see you on the next one.